everyone and welcome back to my channel. Olga is here. For those of you who haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel. Please hit the bell as well to get the latest notifications about the videos I post out there for you guys. Today's video is going to be different. It is a follow-up to the personal story that I filmed in summer, and it's been highly requested. I listened to the comments and I'm going to address issues and questions in the comments that came up, and this is pertaining to my personal story. So this is not a makeup video. Calm down everybody, this is still a makeup channel, but it is my personal story and I feel like it has to be addressed, and this is important. So it's going to go into my makeup confessions rubric and also basically into my personal story follow-up. So I am going to go question by question kind of from the comments that I saw, and I'm going to address the questions. So I'm going to just say that I was born with optic nerve hypoplasia, and I do have nystagmus, and I do have pretty much zero vision in the right eye and somewhat better vision in the left eye. In the left eye it's about 20/80, in the right eye it's about 2200 or 2400, I can't remember exactly. Those numbers really are irrelevant to me. The reason I started makeup channel, wanted to prove to everybody that blind people can do makeup, wanted to prove that to myself as well, wanted to show that visually impaired women can do beautiful makeup, and also wanted to learn and teach others about my condition. And I love makeup, so I started the makeup channel. I do have a normal job. This is just something I do for fun. If YouTube ever becomes for me something great, awesome, and I'm just having fun with this. I'm going to go question by question. I have made myself notes, so if I am looking down, please excuse me. I'm trying to be able to give you concise information as much as I can without deviating from the topic, and that's why I'm going to be looking down. I am not going to edit this video much because I want to get the genuine feel for the video, and I am putting very sensitive, very important information out there for those who are in need of that information, so bear with me. So I was asked in the comments what kind of treatment method would I recommend for somebody who was born with optic nerve hypoplasia. I'm going to address it right now. So the treatment method that I would recommend is called Bates method, and I'm going to link the information down below of what it is. In the nutshell, it is exercises for the eyes. Think of the physical therapy for like your elbows and arms and legs, and think of occupational therapy. This is like exercises for your eyes. So that's what I would recommend for somebody with low vision. It's actually a really good method, and there is information out there. I'm going to link it. How to handle tricky circumstances in terms of living with optic nerve hypoplasia and all of that. So if your child was born with optic nerve hypoplasia and they have low vision or no vision, they need to go to school or daycare, kindergarten, whatnot, make sure you explain to the teachers that there is a need for special accommodations. Make sure that the teachers provide information with a large print, and make sure that there is good lighting where the child is going to be sitting. Either the lighting in the entire room has to be good, or maybe you need to bring your personal lamp to be able to put onto the child's desk where they will be studying. Also, if the teacher is going to be writing something on the whiteboard or blackboard, make sure you tell them to sit your child close so that they can see the information. Also, make sure that the teacher pays attention to your child and can verify that the child indeed is seeing the information in order to get the material that the teacher is teaching. When you are at the new doctor's office and the doctor has not seen your child or you before, please right away explain to the doctor that you have optic nerve hypoplasia. A lot of times this condition is closely followed by nystagmus, which is the involuntary rapid eye movement, and sometimes doctors are uneducated about this and they might think that a patient is under the influence or the patient has a brain tumor, because sometimes nystagmus can be a symptoms of those conditions, and to avoid the confusion, make sure you always are upfront about that in the doctor's office. Depending on the visual acuity, I'm going to address the question of profession, because it's very important when your child is growing up. This question will come up in your life. Okay, so my child has visual impairment, or my child is blind. What kind of profession, what kind of occupation can they do in life? How to make them independent? So I was born in the former Soviet Union. Things were different there, and my parents started to worry about this very early on in my life. And so my parents made that choice for me. They hired tutors so that I could learn in the English language, because they thought of professions that would be good for somebody who can't see well but has great hearing. So if your child is a blind person or visually impaired, the odds are that their ears will take on to compensate for the vision. Usually these people have really good touch, very good sensation in the fingers, and very good hearing. So other organs in our body, in our brain, are going to kind of pull the responsibility for the eyes. And so I would say the jobs would be like maybe an interpreter, a language interpreter, or a teacher, maybe a history teacher, a person who can have like a hands-on job, maybe a massage therapist, you know, something where a person can work with their hands. If a kid has really good pitch, maybe recommending to play musical instrument, something like maybe singing, playing musical instrument, learning languages, physical therapist, something like that. Those would be probably good choices for jobs. Also jobs that involve communication skills. Maybe a person like that could become a social worker, maybe even a work in the environment where there will be blind kids or visually impaired kids. Somebody who could speak from the experience of themselves. The next one, I get this question a lot as well, what to do, how to explain the situation. Do not hide from people this condition. Obviously, it's something that you can't really hide. Nystagmus is very visible. When somebody doesn't see well, other people will notice, because that kind of person will bring the book very close to their eyes to try to see, like I do, or maybe even when they're trying to read, their head shakes a little bit. It's just them trying to focus and see. So if people ask nicely, do address the issue. Say, okay, I was born with optic nerve hypoplasia, and that basically means that my optic nerves didn't develop properly, and that's why I don't see well. And usually that would be enough, and this will be a sufficient explanation. If you do have nystagmus, you might say that this is involuntary movement of my eyes. Usually people will let go at that point. And you can also refer them to the internet. They can Google it for themselves. What else? If your child is bullied at school, because that was one of the questions that I got. Was I bullied? Yes, I was bullied in school. Then if your child is bullied at school, make sure that you speak to the principal, to the school staff about the matter. At home, in order to comfort your child, and I'm just speaking from the experience that I have. It's not necessarily that you would have to follow my example. I'm just telling you what I went through and how my mother and I dealt with this. So what my mother would tell me was usually something like this. Honey, don't worry, you will grow up and this will be over. You will probably never see these kids again in your life. These kids just don't understand what they are doing. This is a temporary situation. Focus on the positive and the fact that school is not going to be for your entire life. So make sure when your child is in tears and upset about being bullied or being just teased about their eyes, tell them that this is a temporary situation. I know when we are kids, we think that the school and the teenagehood years and all of that kind of camaraderie, so to speak, will be there forever. Because when we're kids, our world is usually the school, you know, maybe we go to the after-school activities and those friends, everything like that is very important to us as kids. But it's very important as a parent to stress the fact that this is a temporary situation. You will grow up. and that stuff, that mean, bad stuff, negative stuff is going to be over and you will move on. That not to say that you won't meet some kind of a bad person in life who will say a couple of nasty things. That can always happen. Nobody's immune from that. But if you ask me, a lot of healthy kids are also bullied in schools for no reason. It's just life. I mean, we try to grow up without being scarred, but regardless of the disability or impairment, we all are sort of scarred because life itself is like that. So the next question: what treatments have I received when I was little? I have to thank my mother for this one, because she is the one that is responsible for my well-being in life. We are very close with my mother. She is my best friend, my mentor. I, to this day, look up to her for any suggestions or anything. And I know it might sound kind of, in today's society, in today's culture, maybe people try to shift away from their parents and live independently and whatnot. I am independent, of course, in my job and family, but my mother is very important in my life. We are best friends, and I have to thank her for basically everything she did for me in my childhood in terms of my eyesight. She was the one who was working with me the hardest. She had read all of the medical journals, basically anything she could get her hands on when I was born about this condition. She's kind of like a doctor without a license. I mean, she can tell you everything about the vision, everything and anything that you ever wanted to ever know about. I'm sort of glad in that respect that I was born in the Soviet Union, and I'll explain why. Because the treatments that I got as a small child would never fly here in the United States, because here we have FDA and insurance companies, and everybody is in everybody's business in terms of the medical care. And there, even though things are, there's a lot of bad stuff there in medical care. I'm not saying it's great or anything, but there's also a lot of good stuff there. So if I were born here, I don't think I would have gotten as much treatment as I got there. In fact, I met a grown woman a couple of years ago in my mother-in-law's church, and she has this condition and her eyes don't open and she's always looking down, and she has some vision, but because nobody ever worked with her and her parents sort of gave up on her, she's basically is at that level where she was when she was a baby, and she's really suffering from that. You know, I think if the therapists and doctors and parents were working with her, she would have been better. When I was born, at 3 months, I was diagnosed with no vision, no reaction to light, which at that point, my parents were very young. My mother was 23 years old, and she had never ever dealt with anything like this before. Basically, nobody in our family has it. This was completely like a lightning and thunder in a sunny day. Nobody expected anything like this. No information. Mind you, this was 1980, so no internet, no information, very, you know, skewed information about this. One of the doctors actually had the nerve to tell my mother, "Oh, you know, your child, she's blind, she's probably stupid, give her up for adoption." Are you processing this? I mean, let me repeat. Give her up for adoption and make another baby. Are you kidding me? And my mom just stormed out of that clinic, grabbed me and said, "I don't ever want to see you again. You are absolutely a horrible doctor. You have a horrible bedside manner." But this is really what happened. And so it was a very harsh environment, very unhealthy psychological environment. So my mother took me to the Institute of Filatov. This is the Eye Institute in Odessa, Ukraine. And we saw one of the elderly doctors there. He was a professor, and he pretty much didn't really work, but he was writing like a study about the optic nerve hypoplasia, amblyopia, Nystagmus, and I was like perfect for his study. So he decided to basically treat me, and I was blind, and he said to my mother, he's like, "I can't promise you anything, but I am going to take her under my wing and I'm going to treat your daughter. So basically what I got was 150 shots of vitamin A and E, and yes, because of the dosages were quite high, we kind of trashed my kidneys in the process, and I almost had a kidney failure when I was little, but thankfully things have recovered because they immediately stopped those shots. We did all of that kind of crazy rigorous treatment in order to jumpstart my vision. What else did we do? Cooper's flashing light phototherapy method. Now, just today I was trying to Google this in English and really nothing came up. My guess is it's because it's not done in the United States. I think it's not done in the United States, but it is done in Europe, and it is done in Russia and Ukraine. So when you try to Google this in English, probably won't find anything. I am going to link in the information below the Russian description, and maybe you can find an interpreter and they can interpret this for you. So what this is, it's like a special machine, and the child is looking into kind of like maybe like a small circle, and the doctor is on the other side, and the doctor does like a flash 1 and 2. It's a special kind of flash. Don't do this at home. Don't do this like a home remedy. Please don't. I highly advise against that. This is a very specialized treatment, and it has to be done in the professional doctor's office. Like I said, I don't think it's done in America. I think it would be considered here like something from the field of alternative medicine. You might want to ask your ophthalmologist though. So just wanted to get that out there. So that would be that. Also, what else did we do? Patching of the dominant eye. So the eye patch you can get at Walgreens, Rite Aid. They sell them in pretty much any of those stores. If you don't know where to buy them, speak to the pharmacist and they will show you the aisle. I think it would be sold where they sell the eye drops. So the patch you put on the dominant eye. So if the child has some vision, in like, say they have vision in the left eye and the right eye doesn't see, you want to patch the good eye at home. Make sure the child is of course in the safe environment so they don't bump into something, and you might want to ask them like to look up and down, or maybe try to do like a circular motions with their weak eye. You are trying to exercise the muscle of the eye. Even if the eye doesn't see, you want to make sure that you exercise those muscles, you know, maybe teach them to close one eye, the other eye, maybe raising of the eyebrows up and down, do some circular motions with their eyes. That is all good stuff. It can't hurt them. I've done it all. Also, if you notice that your child is looking down a lot, like their eyelids are down, mine were, and my mother literally made me look up, and it was actually quite painful for my eyelids. They felt very droopy and heavy, but because I was looking down a lot like this, because I wasn't seeing well, my mother used to call me, well, she didn't say this to me, but grandma would call me sometimes a broken doll. You know, like when those dolls have eyes that open and close when you put their heads down. Mine would never open, mine were always down, and I had these great eyelashes and my eyes were always like this. You see how different that is? I mean, if somebody grows up and their eyes are always like that, I mean, that really affects their appearance. It's not sightly. So make sure you work with your child and make them open their eyes wide. You can practice this at a dinner. You can practice this when you're out on a trip or something. You can practice this on weekends. It doesn't take too long, but like just do like up, down, you know, and do like 10 or 20 repetitions. So you can do that. Make sure they open their eyes. Make them look, even when they don't see, make them look. That's the best you can do. Bates method, I already mentioned that one. I'm going to link the information. That was a book that actually was written, I want to say here in America actually, and we read it in translation into Russian, and we did exercises using Bates method. Have the doctors run the appropriate testing for the child. They need to be able to do the visual field acuity test. You know how you're sitting in front of this kind of like a machine, and it's a kind of like a white huge circle, and the doctor is on the other side, and they give you like a thing that you can click, and then there is a dot. You have to look at the center, and they check your visual acuity. It's going to be of paramount importance because you need to understand how well can your child see. Now, I understand that this test might not work for the baby because the baby or a toddler might not understand the instructions of the test, because they're supposed to look into the center and be able to see that white dot in the peripheral vision. This is how they check the visual acuity. But when the child is like 7 years old, I believe that this is a time when you can do those tests and really find out. I'm going to talk about insurance for a second. So here in America, if you have insurance, you know how you have like medical benefits and vision benefits. Do not go through your vision benefits, actually go through your medical benefits. I'll explain why. This is not your regular situation when, you know how you lose your eyesight when you're older and you get eyeglasses for reading glasses, distance, whatnot. This is a condition that somebody is born with. So it would go actually under the medical insurance, not vision insurance. But of course, do ask your insurance company, but I'm pretty sure I'm right because this is how it works in my case. Glasses. On the topic of glasses, yes, I have glasses. No, they don't really help me, and I'll explain why. Because of the nystagmus and the ability to focus, you have to be able to focus your eyesight, and if you have nystagmus, it's a catch-22. Your eye is doing this in order to focus, but then this is what's preventing it from focusing. I know it's backwards, but this is the best way I can explain it in the layman's terms. So yes, when I was 5 years old, they prescribed glasses. My parents thought that, oh, we're going to put the glasses on and she's going to see 20/20. Not going to happen. It's just not, because the optic nerve is what didn't develop properly. So it's like, I like to explain it this way. Let's say a person is born without this part of the arm, and you give them a glove. Is that going to help them? Or you give them a prosthetic finger. Is that going to help them? They're like missing all of this part. You have to be able to have something in order to have something work for you. And if you have small optic nerves, the glasses might help a teensy-wincy little bit. I do have them, and sometimes I put them on when I'm reading, but to be honest with you, I think it's more like a mental exercise for me. Oh, I gotta put my glasses on, because honestly, they don't really help me. So if your child tears off the glasses, I actually broke my first pair against my knee. My parents were horrified. They went to the doctor in tears. She broke her glasses. She wouldn't wear them. The doctor said the following: she has adjusted. That is good. Do not make her wear glasses. He made us another pair of glasses. I had them. That's fine. You can have your child have glasses just in case. And then the doctor said, let it be so that the child puts them on whenever they want. If she wants to, she will put them on. She knows she has them. As an adult, I do wear them, like I said, occasionally. Sometimes I want to read something and see something better, like a price tag in the store, and they do help a little bit, but not a lot. I'll show you. Like this, like about this. What else? What I do recommend, however, is a great magnifying glass. I'm going to show this to you. This is in fact what I use when I do, in my makeup channel, I added this out. When I have to read something small, like on the makeup item, and I cannot see the number or whatever, I use my magnifying glass to read it, and then I added this out because the makeup channel of mine is for everybody. And so I don't want to every time explain why I'm using the magnifying glass. That's why I have a dedicated video to explain why is it that I do. So this is the magnifying glass that I use. It has a cover like this to protect it. This is the button that turns the LED light on. Mine actually died. There is AA batteries, 2 of them that go inside, but my light died. I actually need to replace it. I'll explain why this kind of magnifying glass and not something you can get at Barnes & Noble's. That magnifying glass is not going to work. You need to have at least 10 or 11 dioptries of magnification for your child or somebody with low vision, really low vision I'm talking about, to be able to see. Let me show you how it magnifies. So here, see this text? This is pretty darn big. And then, you see this? This is the type of magnification you're getting. Now imagine I'm going to turn the light on, which in this case doesn't work. That is also going to help. So two things are playing here. It's the magnification that you need, as well as the contrast. As soon as you turn that light on, bam, that changes everything. You need to have good contrast. What else? I covered the magnification. Yes. If you can take your child to some reputable vision institute, meaning a clinic in America or wherever you want that actually specializes in the low vision, do not waste your time at the regular ophthalmologist doctor's office. They don't really deal with this kind of stuff, or maybe they do, but not enough, and they simply will not be able to really help. If you have to start there, promptly ask them for the referral to the low vision specialist. Even if you have to travel to like an out of state, let's say you live in Boston, I don't know, and you have to travel to Ohio or New York or Oregon, do that. You know, if this is the best care you can get, then set some money aside and travel with your kid to that best place that the doctors are recommending. What else? What else? Where do I go for my vision care? I go to the Cataract Institute. This is located on the waterfront in Portland, Oregon. And I live now in Vancouver, so it's just a short drive through Columbia River and into downtown Portland to the waterfront. I see the doctor who specializes in these kinds of conditions and low vision. Where did I go when I lived in Ukraine? Like I said, my mother used to take me to the Filatov Institute of Vision in Odessa, Ukraine. This is on the Black Sea, Odessa, Ukraine, Filatov Institute. They are truly the best. If you want real treatment, real results, I know traveling to Ukraine or Russia might sound scary. I don't know if it does, but sometimes it does. Any kind of traveling might sound scary. If you want to get help, go there. You will not regret it. What else? Another real great place that I went to was the Brain Institute of St. Petersburg, Russia. They also do quite a few cool treatments for this condition. I will try to link the information down below if I'm able to find reputable websites, because I'm also trying to be very careful. I don't want to provide sketchy information for you. So if it's not there, it means I just didn't find a good website. If it is there, it's good. If you go to the doctors right now that are only talk and put just a positive spin on everything, do not waste your time. You have to be able to get actions out of the doctors. If you feel like the doctor is giving you a cold shoulder, brushing you off, move on to the next doctor, find a good one. In adulthood, what would happen to nystagmus? A lot of times I get this question, since a lot of times with somebody with optic nerve hypoplasia has nystagmus, then I actually heard this one time. I saw something on the internet where one of the doctors had the audacity to tell young mom whose kid had nystagmus that nystagmus will go away, that the child would outgrow their nystagmus. Let me just tell you right there, you might not want to hear this, but if somebody tells you that, they are lying. You cannot outgrow nystagmus. It's going to be there for the rest of your life unless you do the nystagmus surgery. I'm going to link that information as well. It is pretty risky though, but there is a surgery that can be done to minimize nystagmus, but it's not going to go away on its own. It's not like puberty. You cannot outgrow this. What will happen though with it is that it will get stabilized. What I mean by that is that the movements are going to be more stable. So like if your child has horizontal nystagmus that is like this, then when they grow up it will be a bit more stable and it will not maybe be as noticeable. So that's that. So I'm sorry to say, no, you cannot outgrow nystagmus unless you go and do the surgery, which I thought about as an adult, almost wanted to go do it and then backed out because it's still pretty, I don't want to say it's experimental, but it's sketchy. I mean, I didn't feel like it would do anything, and I was worried that there would be a lot of pain, so you might want to take it with a grain of salt. Do your research. I did not do that surgery. If your child's nystagmus is worse, for example, they might be nervous, anxious, or angry. When the child is angry, their nystagmus will get worse. When they're calm, their nystagmus will get better. Let me bust a couple of myths and answer a couple of questions. We're almost done with this. I'm so sorry for this video being so long, and I'm just trying to pack as much information as possible. So, a couple of myths here. I was asked this. So, does my nystagmus make me feel dizzy? No, it does not. So, if somebody has dizziness, the odds are it's because of the other reason. It's not because they have nystagmus. No, there is no vertigo or dizziness because of this. Another question, does the picture shake when I'm looking at something? No, it doesn't really. I look at something just like everybody else. The only time that I kind of see that shakiness in the image is when it's dark in the room and I'm looking at the alarm clock and it's bright, and yes, I do see like as if that clock or the image of the light in the clock is shaky. So that's the only time. Do I have headaches more so than others? No, not really. Actually, probably have less of. I hear that many healthy people have headaches. I don't really have them. Do I think on this every single day? Not really. I'm too busy. I have a normal life. I have a family. I have a son, a husband, and 2 cats, and my mom lives with me and my dad lives with me. I brought them over from Ukraine. Independent person. No, I don't think of this every day. Do I drive? No, I do not drive a car. I'm perfectly capable of learning to drive. However, because I don't have vision in the right eye, it left me with the faulty depth perception. And so because I cannot see the depth and I cannot judge the situation on time, I don't think it's safe for me to drive. Do I get angry about this? Yes, I do. Sometimes I feel very bitter and angry, but because I am an adult, I learn to cope with that. And yes, I do suffer from depression on top of this. Not because of this, just separate issue. I probably would have depression because I would have depression. It has nothing to do with the eyesight. So I do take medication for depression. Do I worry that my vision will get worse when I'm older? No, not really. I actually don't think about that. Do I think of myself as a person with disabilities? Again, not really. I was not raised like that. This is another thing. I will give you this one good advice. Do not, when you raise a child with this condition, try to raise them as much as you would a healthy child. Do not constantly tiptoe around this condition, because they are still a child, and you know, they will learn that from you, and they might actually get more scarred from the way you think of it than the reality is. So my mother did not raise me as a handicapped person. Like, if I did something wrong, she would punish me, right? So she wouldn't like, oh, she's unhealthy, maybe we should exercise restraint because she's unhealthy. Oh, she didn't go to school, she's lazy, no, she's unhealthy. So if I skipped school or did something like, you know, she would punish me. You would be, okay, you're grounded, you don't get to watch TV, whatever. So that still applies. Do not raise them and constantly use this condition as an excuse, because I think it's important. What else? Can I... Oh yes, I did already answer about depth perception. No, I don't have depth perception. I don't drive because of it. Ah, yes, it's important. When I'm walking down the stairs, I cannot see the steps, so I have to hold on to the rail. So if your child is going down the stairs, always tell them to hold the rail or hold your hand if they're with somebody, because it's very easy to misstep and you don't want them to fall down. Depth perception is something that probably will also get affected because of, it's kind of a condition that has other little parts of the condition that are sort of all together. So Stairs are a problem for me. I just walk slowly and I hold on to the rail. Can I draw? Yes, I can, actually quite well. And what else? And I love that. I'm pretty good at that. Do I play a musical instrument? Yes, I play guitar. Do I speak multiple languages? Yes, I fluently speak Russian, Ukrainian, English. I studied German when I was in when I graduated from university. I graduated with a degree of master's degree. I am an interpreter, translator, and a teacher. So I don't teach. My job is interpreting and translating. And yes, I also speak other languages, but I'm not fluent at them, so I try not to put that on my resume. So I did study Hebrew and French, and I know Latin, but I don't think it's important necessarily to talk about that because it doesn't really come up in my life. So what else? Was I bullied? Yes, like I already said, I was bullied, but again, who is not bullied? Even healthy kids get bullied. So just, I would say we need to get over that. Do I think I'm special? Yes, and very lucky. I have really good family. I have a wonderful husband who is very supportive. What does my husband think of this condition? He wishes that I could see well, but he loves me for who I am. This is not a deciding factor. When he proposed to me, I immediately told him about this condition because a lot of times people who don't know me that well or people who see me for the first time do not really understand how low my vision is because I don't behave like that. It doesn't mean I'm hiding my poor vision, but it's not like I have a sign on my forehead stating that I'm visually impaired. I want to say that I'm very well socially integrated and developed, and I just don't present as a typical blind or visually impaired person because, like I said, my mother raised me as a healthy individual. So I'm sorry that this is a very long video, and yes, I want to address another thing. I started this makeup channel also because I wanted to bust a couple of myths out there. First of all, as I was growing up, many doctors in Ukraine told my mother, and my mother unfortunately learned from them and told me that I would never be able to do makeup because I don't want to draw attention to my eyes. I would never be able to wear mascara, eyelashes, eyeliner, whatnot, because it's gonna make my eyes itchy or whatever. And I kind of, when I was 16, I never went through the normal milestones of a teenage girl of wanting to play with makeup. I remember my mother got a very expensive Lancome palette, and it was a big deal in Ukraine because it was still hard to get very high-end items. My father gave it to her and I wanted to see it, and I climbed on a bookshelf where she hid it, and I accidentally dropped it and it broke, and I got in a lot of trouble, let's just put it that way. And then when I moved here years later, I remember I bought her Lancome makeup, and she actually forgot that situation, but I remembered, and I wanted to kind of dazzle her with makeup. And this is a very special story to me. What else? So yes, I started this channel because I wanted to prove to the world that just because you're blind or visually impaired doesn't mean that you shouldn't wear makeup. I'm not saying makeup is that important in life, but it is one of those things that women use to kind of self-express themselves, identify themselves, and it's important. I mean, it can be important to somebody. So if your daughter wants to wear makeup, help her, let her know how, teach her, take her to the store, get her some cheap makeup. If she has a reaction to makeup, it's not because of her poor vision or her amblyopia or because of her ONH. It's because she probably is allergic to that particular makeup, because there could be ultramarines in the makeup, there could be some, colors or something in the makeup. So try to stay away from parabens. That's what I would do. Try to go with more, with better ingredients in the makeup. And if she did have a reaction, don't blame her condition on it. She would have probably had a reaction even if she had healthy eyes. So I just wanted to point that out there, and that's why I did the channel, made this channel, because I wanted to show people that with poor vision you can do kick butt makeup and teach others to do makeup. I love makeup, and I am right now almost 37 years old, very happy to be able to do makeup now. I'm trying to catch up on what I missed when I was 16. And I can probably teach other 16-year-olds how to do the makeup. So anyways, guys, thank you very much for tuning in and watching. I hope this video was helpful. To those of you who were there for just the makeup, I'm sorry that this was not about makeup, but this is a very important topic to address. This is one of my identifiers, and this is what sets this channel apart from others. And basically that's that. And like I said, I will see you all in my next video. Please leave me your questions and comments in the section down below. Be nice. And if you have any criticism, make it constructive criticism. And I will see you all soon. I love you. Bye.